The top stories tonight in Y News. The Philippine National Police committed to intensify its enforcement of the law against the improper use of emergency flashers and sirens in cars.
A group of poultry farmers affirmed that there is no shortage of chicken in the nation.
The Department of Health clarified that it has never recommended making COVID-19 booster doses mandatory.
Several international health agencies have advised against consuming a locally produced brand of instant noodles due to allegedly excessive pesticide levels.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Thursday, July 7, 2022. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I am Harleen Delgado.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am William Theo.
First in the news, the percentage of unemployed Filipinos increased based on the May 2022 labor force survey of the Philippine Statistics Authority. According to the recent survey, the quality of available jobs also worsened. Eileen Cerudo will tell us why.
From 5.7% unemployment rate last April 2022, the number of jobless Filipinos rose to 6% in May, according to the May 2022 Labor Force Survey of the Philippine Statistics Authority. This is equivalent to 2.9 million jobless Filipinos in May.
Yung unemployment rate natin noong Mayo ay nasa 6.0%. Mula January hanggang May 2022, ang average unemployment rate natin ay nasa 5.8% na.
According to the PSA, there were 5 economic sectors that had job losses in May, contributing to a rise in the unemployment rate in the nation. The sector that had the greatest loss of jobs was agriculture and forestry, which was then followed by public administration, arts and entertainment, education, and professional services. The country also recorded an increase in the number of underemployed workers based on the labor survey. It increased from 14.5% in May from 14% in April. National Statistician Undersecretary Dennis Mapa says that more Filipino personnel over the age of 15 are currently searching for work. A larger range of jobs reopened after restrictions were released due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Even with the rise in the number of unworked and underworked, the PSA said the country's employment situation is faring better than last year.
If you compare it with the figures ng 2020 and 2021, pababa naman talaga yung ating unemployment rate, but still higher compared to the pre-pandemic level of 2019, kung saan yung baseline natin doon ay nasa 5.1%.
Meanwhile, despite the global challenges, according to Socio-Economic Planning Secretary Arsenio Balisacan, the government managed to sustain a slow economic growth. The national government would still need to concentrate on generating more high-quality jobs through investments that will increase productivity. Eileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
In spite of the reports of supply problems in fast food chains, a group of poultry farmers affirmed that there is no shortage of chicken in the nation. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
In some fast food chains, chicken meals have been unavailable. Fast food businesses claim that due to the supply issues, their chicken supply was exhausted. However, the United Broiler Raisers Association made it clear that there is no shortage of chicken. The chicken supplies that are being delivered to them do not pass their standard overweight issues, says UBRA President Attorney Bong Insyong. Insyong noted that the feed has something to do with the sizes and weight of chickens.
Ang problema, ang nakikita namin ay yung nutrition, yung quality ng patukan ng feeds. Dahil nga mahal, kasi alam mo yan mga sangkap ng para sa feeds, yung agricultural products yan. Kadalasan, mas mahal, mas mababa ang kalidad kasi Pag kulang talaga, pati yung pangit ng kalidad na bibili.
Because of the low quality of feeds, Insyong said the country's animal nutritionists are trying to adjust their formulations. Growers currently produce less according to Ubra.
Talaga naman nagbawas ang industriya pagkatapos ng eleksyon dahil yung paniwala nga pagkatapos ng eleksyon uurong ang demand.
Additionally, the group requests that President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. appoints someone to manage their sector. Ray Pilayo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Highway Patrol Group has been ordered by the Philippine National Police to intensify its operations against vehicles using sirens and blinkers illegally. The PNP Directorate for Operations stated that the law must prevail when sirens and blinkers are used. Leia Ilagan has the story.
Siren, blinkers, and motorcycle escorts are not allowed in private vehicles. Aside from the official vehicle of the PNP, AFP, NBI, LTO, BFP, and hospital ambulances, this device may only be used in accordance with Presidential Decree number 96 signed by former President Ferdinand Marcos Sr.
Sa ngayon, ang ginagawa ng ating Highway Patrol Group, nagkakandak sila ng checkpoints. But in my capacity as the Director for Operations, I am also communicating to the local government units through our regional directors, provincial directors, chiefs of police, para ma-coordinate na malaman nila na meron mga batas na sumasakop nito at kailangan sundin.
From July to 7, the Highway Patrol Group has confiscated 9 sirens, 69 LED lights, 3 strobe lights, 29 fog lights, 45 blinkers, 65 modified mufflers, and 24 other items. A motor vehicle was captured by the HPG Laguna using blinker just yesterday. The driver is warned by De Leon that using the aforementioned unauthorized devices will result in arrest.
This is already a law, PD 96. Ang isang penalty nito ay 6 months imprisonment and a penalty of 600 pesos.
De Leon also said that the use of motorcycle escorts is limited to the President, Vice President, Senate President, Speaker of the House, and Chief Justice. Senator J.V. Ejercito expressed his opinion on the prevalence of the use of blinkers, sirens, and motorcycle escorts in a tweet. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
In other news, the Marcos administration is likely to revive the joint exploration deal between the Philippines and China. This is after the Duterte administration already ended the aforementioned talks with China. Nel Maribuhok will tell us why.
President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. may continue the combined energy exploration in the West Philippine Sea. According to Deputy National Security Advisor Designate Dr. Romel Banlawi, the joint exploration of the Philippines and China is one of the agenda of Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi when he visited the country.
Isa yan sa mga pinag-usapan ng Pilipinas at China sa pagbisita ni Foreign Minister Wang Yi dito sa Pilipinas na ipupursu yung kahalagahan ng joint development of natural gas and oil in the West Philippines.
The possible revival of the joint exploration deal with China will be carefully studied, said Banlawi.
Isa yan sa mga pag-uusapan ng gusto ay seryosong pagtutuunan ng pansin yan, yung joint development of natural gas and oil in the West Philippine Sea. So isa yan sa pag-aaralan para ma-develop natin yung resources diyan sa area na yan.
Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. announced that the Philippine government had already terminated its agreement with China for joint oil exploration activities at the West Philippine Sea prior to the Duterte administration's departure. A memorandum of understanding on the proposed joint exploration was signed by President Duterte and Chinese President Xi Jinping in November 2018. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Abroad. A Chinese invasion against Taiwan is warned off by the heads of the United Kingdom and the United States domestic intelligence services. Outside of this, alarms are also raised about Chinese espionage. Beverly Celson will tell us why.
Possibility of a Chinese invasion against Taiwan grows slowly, this according to the joint appearance of the heads of intelligence agencies of U.S. and United Kingdom. According to U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation or FBI Director Christopher Wray, they have seen steps that China is undertaking to shield its economy from sanctions like what Russia has done before invading Ukraine. UK MI5 Director General Ken McCallum, on the other hand, said Western powers made a mistake in hoping that China will emulate its democracy, media, and justice system as it becomes prosperous, but instead China uses its power for its own gains. Part of these steps, according to them, are economic espionage, such as hacking and human spies. Other steps China is undertaking is to influence businesses and local U.S. governments like states and cities. These can pressure lawmakers not to undertake legislations against China's interests. Proof to this, according to FBI and MI5, is the statement brought out by China Embassy in the U.S. that U.S. companies needs to fight laws against China in U.S. Congress. Beverly Saison, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
An Omicron booster jab, a world first, could be available to Australians within weeks, according to Moderna's managing director in Australia, Michael Azrak. The new booster from the American pharmaceutical company is designed to fight the original Wuhan strain of the COVID-19 virus as well as the Omicron variant. The Therapeutic Goods Administration, or TGA, is currently evaluating the vaccination. Following an update from Australia's leading immunization body today, epidemiologists and other experts are calling on more than 7 million Australians that are now eligible to get a fourth jab. The second booster shot will be available starting on the 11th of July for people between the ages of 30 and 49, while people above 50 are advised to receive a fourth dose of the vaccine. The Australian Technical Advisory Group's decision on immunization comes at a time when hospital and health services are overflowing, buckling under pressure from both COVID patients and the flu season. Meanwhile, Professor Nachman Ash, Israel's General Director of Health, has approved the ministry's recommendation that children between the ages of 6 months and 5 years receive the COVID-19 vaccine. The decision was made following the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, or FDA's, approval. The vaccine will be given in 3 doses, given 3 and 8 weeks after the previous dose, respectively. The use of mRNA vaccines, according to experts, shouldn't conflict with the regular vaccines given to infants and young children. For children at high risk due to chronic illnesses and those taking medications that weaken their immune systems, the vaccine is highly recommended. Preparations are expected to be completed by the end of next week, and the ministry plans to start the vaccination period in early August. We'll tell you more global stories later, but for now, back to you, William.
Yes, thank you, Marielle. Due to allegedly high levels of pesticide, a number of foreign health authorities have advised against consuming a locally made instant noodle brand. Meanwhile, the company denies using high chemicals in its product. Rosa Licos tells this report.
Lucky Me, a popular instant noodle brand in the Philippines, ensures the public that all its products are registered with the Philippine Food and Drug Administration, or FDA. This comes after Malta and Ireland issued a safety alert about a specific batch of Lucky Me instant noodles products due to the high presence of a pesticide called ethylene oxide. In a statement, Lucky Me disclaimed that ethylene oxide is not added to Lucky Me products. To control the microbial growth typical of agricultural products, pesticide is a commonly used treatment in seeds and spices. Traces of ethylene oxide may merely show when the raw materials are processed into seasoning and sauces. According to the company, it is aware that certain Lucky Me products have been ordered to be recalled in Taiwan and the European Union due to the presence of the aforementioned pesticide. But the recall affects a variety of products from other companies, including ice cream, sesame seeds, spices, and calcium carbonate supplements, among others. The ethylene oxide used for pesticides is not authorized for use in foods sold in the European countries, said the Food Safety Authority of Ireland in a statement. While consumption of the contaminated product does not present an immediate risk to health, if this pesticide is continued over a long period of time, there may be health issues. Meanwhile, according to the Department of Health, the FDA is already looking into the issue.
Ito po ay tinitignan na ngayon ng Food and Drug Administration. No? Ito pong type nitong pagkain na ito na atin pong pinapahold muna because of apparently, no? Apparent pa lang po ito dahil it is under investigation. Kailangan pa ho natin i-verify yan base po sa gagawing proseso ng ating Food and Drug Administration. So ito pong ethylene oxide, apparently na sinasabi nilang kasama dito po sa sinasabing pagkain na ito, ito po ay may mga simptomas na maaring magkaroon ng pananakit ng ulo, maaring nagsusuka ang mga tao, maaring magkakaroon ng loose bowel movement, and maaari rin po dun po sa far side or dun sa extreme po, mahirapan huminga, magkakaroon ng difficulty in breathing, parang pagod.
Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Energy Regulatory Commission intends to appeal the Supreme Court's decision to let the Manila Electric Company to collect outstanding debts owned by its customers. Meralco, on the other hand, expects lower electricity rates for bills in July. Asher Cadapan Jr. details why.
Due to the difficulties posed by the rising inflation, the Energy Regulatory Commission wishes to postpone the collection of the Manila Electric Company's pending charges from their customers. The fees were arising from a proposed rate increase in December 2013, with an additional fee amounting to more than 12 pesos per kilowatt hour. The unanticipated shutdown of the Malampaya gas field facility was the primary cause of the soaring rate. However, the Supreme Court decided to allow Meralco to collect the charges from their customers after nearly a decade. They may only implement it upon receipt of the formal copy of the Supreme Court's decision, which has yet to happen, says ERC Chairperson Agnes De Vanadera.
Ang kabutihan nga lang, ang Supreme Court decision hindi pa officially served sa ERC. At kung na-serve na naman, ang ERC ay merong option. Pwedeng mag-file ng motion for reconsideration, so hindi pa rin ito maiipatupad.
On the other hand, Meralco wishes that the implementation could be done later to allow the regulator to conclude and investigate on the matter. Meanwhile, Meralco anticipates an increase in the generation charge for the month of July in bills. This is brought on by a decline in electricity supply that increased spot market prices, a weakening of the peso to dollar exchange rate, and rising oil prices on the global market. However, the 21 billion peso adjustment that the ERC ordered Meralco to refund to its customers will balance out the increase. The refund was an actual computation of a projected increase in the power distributors' rates in the previous bills. It amounts to more or less 87 centavos per kilowatt hour. Meralco has yet to reveal the actual generation charge increase but confirms it will not be more than the amount of the refund.
So kung sakaling tumaas yung generation charge because of the factors I mentioned earlier, ito naman pag binangga yun, posibleng overall rates ay bumaba. That is a very strong scenario of strong possibility.
Meralco is expected to announce their final rates for July on Monday. Asher Cadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, Angat Dam's water level is continuously lowering every day. The public is reminded by the National Water Resources Board to conserve water to aid in the dam's recovery. Ray Pelayo reports.
Angat Dam watershed has received less rain in recent weeks, even with the start of rainy season. The water level was brought down to 180.28 meters this morning, or nearly the same as the minimum operating level. The National Water Resources Board, however, assures the citizens of Metro Manila and the nearby provinces that there is still a sufficient supply of water.
In the next few days, pag hindi po nagbago yan, medyo bababa po doon sa minimum operating level na 180 meters, yung level ng Dam. Pero ganun pa man po, sa ganung level po ay sa tingin po naman natin ay may sufficient sapat na supply para mantayan tubig, particular po sa mga kasama nating dito po, kababayan natin dito sa Metro Manila at karating probinsya.
The NWRB urges the public to conserve water and do ways to catch rain that can also be used for different purpose. The agency is currently evaluating whether the cloud seeding operation to increase rainfall in Angat Dam watershed is needed. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, we serve the people, we give glory to God.
A lawmaker in the upper chamber will revive a bill reinstating death penalty in the country, but only for high-level drug offenders or the so-called drug lords. This report will tell us why. Senator Ronald Bato Dela Rosa is optimistic that his pet bill, death penalty for high-level drug trafficking, will have a better chance in the incoming Congress. The bill topped the priority list of Dela Rosa in the 19th Congress. The lawmaker is hopeful that the bill will progress with the next chairperson of the Senate Committee on Justice and Human Rights, Senator Francis Tolentino.
Yes, sinabihan ko siya na yung death penalty natin, Tol. Ikaw nang pumalit kay Senator Gordon ngayon, dapat makalusot na yung death penalty natin. Tumango naman siya. So, signal yun na okay.
The country's former top cop Alays fears that the bill will be anti-poor as it is limited to large-scale drug offenders. De La Rosa notes it will be up to the wisdom of the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency and the Philippine National Police on what constitutes a high-level classification of drug trafficking.
Kasi kung hindi bitayin, nakakulong lang siya sa loob ng bilibid, andun pa rin. Continue pa rin yung kanilang negosyo. Walang hinto. So kung binita yan, tapos na. Wala nang, hindi na makapagpatuloy. Kaya nga yung ating bill ay nakafocus doon sa large-scale drug trafficking. Dahil nga, pag lahat ng drug offenses i-cover mo, magiging anti-for yung batas natin, sabihin ng mga tao. Ang kaya lang dyan magdepensa, yung mga mayayaman, yung mahirap, bitay. Pag mayaman, hindi mabibitay dahil magagaling yung abogado nila. May panggasto sila.
However, Senate President pro tempore and presumptive Senate President Juan Miguel Migzubiri says proposed measures on death penalty will not be a priority in the Senate.
I know hindi naman itutulak nitong administration na ito because I've already asked the higher-ups na hindi naman nila i-prioritize ito.
If given a chance, the senator says he is willing to convince President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. to certify the bill as urgent. When asked if he supports the proposal of neophyte Senator Robin Padilla to include corrupt government officials in death penalty, De La Rosa agrees with it.
Ipayag ako doon, maganda yun. Maganda yun. Kaya lang ako, nakakonsentrate ako sa drugs. Dahil alam ko pagdating dyan, we will encounter a very stiff opposition dyan. Dahil sigurado ako, maraming politiko ang ayaw niyan. Pero okay ako dyan.
In the 18th Congress, 12 bills relating to death penalty were filed in the Senate, with one withdrawn by former Senator Panfilo Lacson last year. Jorlene Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson formally announced his resignation as UK's Prime Minister following the series of scandals that plagued his leadership. Johnson said it is clearly the will of the Conservative Party that there should be a new leader and therefore a new Prime Minister. He has given Queen Elizabeth II a courtesy call this morning regarding his intention to resign. Until a successor is appointed through a leadership contest among the Conservative Party's MPs or Member of Parliament, Johnson also intends to stay as caretaker Prime Minister, although critics say that he should be removed immediately from office and should not be allowed to remain as caretaker Prime Minister. In light of Johnson's ethics scandal, nearly 50 senior lawmakers have so far quit the British government. German government introduces its first migration package to grant residents' rights to migrants living in the country. Therese Longbowen will give us the details live. Yes, Therese, good evening.
Good evening, Marielle. With the goal of strengthening integration, which aims to include in the society all people who live permanently and legally in Germany, simplified administrative procedures were introduced yesterday under the first migration package. Part of the migration process change in this package is the opportunity right of residence, wherein foreigners who have stayed in Germany for at least 5 years as of January 1, 2022, and without criminal offense will be given 1-year residence permit. This will give them time to comply with the requirements needed for a right of residence. A total of 136,605 foreigners in Germany who have been staying in the country for at least 5 years can apply for this opportunity. Aiming also to attract third country national skilled workers to come to Germany, family reunification is made easier as the package drops the language certificate requirement for immigrating family members. The federal government also plans to give asylum seekers access to integration and professional language courses, offering language support in the early stage of their stay in the country. Back to you, Marielle.
Thank you, Therese Longbowen, for that live report. As wildfires remain a significant problem in the United States West, scientists have identified an effective solution to a major cause of these fires. Paul Gatchalian will give us the details live. Yes, Paul, please go ahead.
Marielle, there's an abundance of cheatgrass in the west of the United States, and scientists explain that these invasive weed-like species, when dry, are fuel to fire. Cheatgrass are spiky, droopy, and almost hairy plants that choke out native grasses. Scientists have identified that an efficient way of removing cheatgrass is by targeted cattle grazing, typically in the fall season when cheatgrass is drier. Researchers from the University of Nebraska and Nevada were able to lure cattle away from water to consume cheatgrass by liquid protein supplements. By segregating dense clumps of cheatgrass through grazing, it slows down the fire effectively by changing its characteristics, as fires cannot all be controlled, says researchers Barry Perryman. Meanwhile, the solution of cattle grazing on cheatgrass is very low or no cost at all, as cattlemen agree to grazing and are more than happy to do it at minimal cost or even for free. Marielle?
Thank you, Paul Gatchalian, reporting live. New Queensland, Australia research found that using the venom of one of the world's deadliest spiders could be the key to saving thousands of lives from irreparable damage to the heart. Mavian Dog will give us the details live. Yes, Maeve, good evening.
Marielle, a drug being developed by the University of Queensland or UQ researchers contains a molecule from the Garry or Fraser Island funnel web spider's venom, which has the potential to prevent organ damage after a heart attack and stroke. During a heart attack, the heart could not regenerate the muscle cells that have died. As explained by Nathan Palpand, Associate Professor from UQ's Institute for Molecular Bioscience or IMB, the drug works by blocking signals that cause heart cells to die.
So this drug is intended to stop that cell death response from happening in the first place, so that when doctors are able to recover those patients, the organs are able to function more effectively.
Another benefit is that the drug can be administered by first responders at the earliest point for people with heart disease in Queensland's rural and remote regions, where it could take hours to get to a hospital. Professor Glenn King from UQ's IMB also added this treatment has the potential to save millions of people every year.
All of those people could potentially benefit from this drug. So we're talking about a patient population potentially of tens of millions of people per year that could benefit from this drug.
So far, the drug has been tested on mice, and with the research scoring $23 million for funding, clinical trials are expected to begin around the end of 2023. Back to you, Marielle.
Thank you, Mavian Dog, reporting live from Australia. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Maria Latoza reporting live from Perth, Australia. Good evening.
A number of private schools are asking the Department of Education to ease their rules for the conduct of face-to-face classes. Janice Inhente explains why.
Certain private schools approve of returning to 100% face-to-face classes, but in order to keep up with the start of physical education classes, they ask the Department of Education to relax the requirements and the procedure.
I think that is enough time, November. Kaya lang siguro meron din kaming request. Ang request namin sana bisitahin yung guidelines, no, na pinalabas. Kasi baka matatagalan kung susundin natin yung napaka-tedious at mahabang proseso para makapagbukas sa mga private schools. Kasi doon sa guidelines, mag-a-apply yan isa-isa, magsasubmit ng mga paperworks, no? Bago pa yan aksyonan at aprobahan.
Attorney Joseph Noel Estrada, Managing Director of the Coordinating Council of Private Education Association PH or COCOPEA, says that the joint guidelines of the Interagency Task Force or IATF, the UH and DepEd are enough for the administrator of private schools to conduct a safe reopening of physical classes. Attorney Reynold Monsayak, Vice President and Education Secretary Sara Duterte's spokesperson, had earlier stated in the message that a department order will be issued to direct all schools in the full face-to-face implementation. The government hopes to implement full student attendance for in-person classes in November. Schools are now preparing their facilities, while parents and students agreed also to return to physical learning.
Siguro i-guide kami ng superintendent namin kung paano na yung magiging, kung sabihin natin na, kasi ngayon ang gusto na lang ng superintendent namin parang 40 per class eh. Tapos eto, hindi pa everyday, parang 3 days ang face-to-face and then parang yung 2 araw, parang yun ang asynchronous. Pero wala pa namang definite. Parang yun pa lang yung naisasuggest.
Kasi yung mga modular online, hindi masyado natututukan kasi ng mga bata. Kaya sangayon talaga ako sa face-to-face. 100%. Fully vaccinated naman din po yung mga anak ko. Kaya hindi ako natatakot.
Janice Inhente, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Administering COVID-19 booster shots is still not mandatory in the nation, according to the Department of Health. JP Nunez explains why.
The Department of Health specifies that only 1 dose of the COVID-19 vaccine or 2 doses of the primary series are needed to achieve full immunity. This is in response to a report that President Marcos Jr. approved calling for the redefinition of full vaccination status for at least the first booster.
Wala pong binigay na statement ang ating gobyerno, ang kagawaran na ang ating pong pagbabakuna ay mandatory. We also did not give any statement that boosters will become mandatory. Wala po yan sa ating direksyon.
The recent meeting of health officials with PBBM, according to DOH spokesperson Maria Rosario Vergere, only covered recommendations on the COVID-19 response and other health programs.
Ang bilin talaga sa atin, instruction, pataasin natin ang pagbabakuna. He believes in vaccination. He believes in booster doses. So talagang instruction sa atin, ano pa ang pwedeng gawin natin para maipataas pa natin ang antas ng pagbabakuna sa ating bansa. paano natin matutulungan yung mga lugar na medyo mababa pa ang coverage, especially for the primary series.
Meanwhile, the Private Hospitals Association of the Philippines Incorporated, or PHAPI, supports the addition of a booster to be fully immunized due to the declining efficacy of COVID-19 vaccines.
So, palagay ko dapat po na pag fully vaccinated ka lang mo, at least meron ka pong isang booster dose.
DOH officials pledged to continue national health programs, including the COVID-19 vaccination rollout, despite the fact that President Bongbong Marcos Jr. has not yet appointed the next Secretary of Health. JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Our kasangbahay, as the world faces these trying times amid the pandemic caused by coronavirus, we are inviting everyone to join the global prayer for humanity from Monday to Friday, 9:30 p.m. Philippine time through the social media accounts of Members Church of God International.
And before we close, we will leave you with a word, giving glory to God. From the book of Romans, chapter 9, verses 15 to 16. It says, "For he saith to Moses, I will have mercy, on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion, on whom I will have compassion. So then it is not of him that willeth, nor of him that runneth, but of God that showeth mercy." Reasons behind the news, July 7, 2022. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am Harleen Delgado.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.